pro tips for buying records on Discogs. We will discuss on this episode of Talking About Records. My name is G.I. Sanders from NTX Vinyl, small chain of independent record shops in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you're based in the U.S., you can shop online at ntxvinyl.com. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Really appreciate the support. All right, let's talk about Discogs. If you're not familiar with Discogs, I've done a number of videos on this, and I will probably continue to do a lot of videos on this because it is a very popular resource, frequently used from vinyl collectors. It is not the be-all and the end-all of vinyl databases in regards to buying, selling, cataloging. It is simply one option and has become quite a staple for a lot of collectors, myself included, because it's a very useful resources across a lot of different areas of the vinyl collecting hobby. That being said, whatever I'm going to say here, it could pertain to not only records, but it could pertain to tapes and CDs and 8-tracks and pretty much any format that Discogs catalogs. Now, as it pertains to buying, please keep in mind that I frequently see people post and say, oh, I got a record off Discogs and I'm so disappointed, or has anybody ever bought a record from Discogs and how's the quality? Keep in mind, Discogs is simply a software platform. Discogs does not sell records. The only way you buy records on Discogs is from individual sellers. That can be someone who owns a record shop. That could be someone who just has a record and they want to sell it. There is no rhyme or reason. Anyone can sell records or any type of media on Discogs, right? So keep that in mind. You're not buying anything from Discogs. You're buying it through a seller that happens to list it on Discogs. No different than if they listed that album on eBay or on Facebook Marketplace or in a physical store, right? Discogs is a platform facilitating the sale. So keep that in mind. All right, so as far as pro tips is concerned, I really wanted to drill in on a couple of very specific things here. I'm going to try and give a general idea of why you would buy on Discogs and how to go about it. But I want to drill in on the tips for people who maybe have looked at Discogs and they've seen albums that they maybe were curious about purchasing, but they're just not sure. They're not confident. They're not willing to kind of take that leap. So hopefully these tips will get you over that hurdle, and maybe you can make your first purchase on Discogs, or maybe the next time you go and make a purchase, you're a little more informed and know what to look for, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen that I'm seeing right here and go in real time and walk you through it. So I'm looking at the homepage of Discogs first and foremost. So if we're going to talk about buying a record on Discogs, we first got to find something to buy, right? So I'm just going to go find a couple releases, and I'm going to go to my collection, albums I already own. But for example purposes, I want to go through a few here and show you a couple of tips and tricks. I'm on Jason Isbell's latest release, which is Georgia Blue. And the first tip is to check the notes. Here's what I mean by that. If you scroll down, now I'm on a release page for the album itself, or for a particular version of this album, right? So let's say I'm interested in this one. If you scroll down to this section right here, you'll see tracks, credits, and most importantly, you will see notes. Check out the notes section. Why this is important is because it's going to give you the details behind the album. Not only will you know the year and the album name based on the main page you're on, but this will tell you. So in this case, this is a 2021 Record Store Day release, and it was limited to 12,000 copies. Okay, great. And then you can see it has a download code. These are common questions that you might have about an album, to where if you're in a shop, you can ask someone, or you can ask the store owner. If you're buying it from someone online, maybe you can go back and forth with them and ask them what it is. As it pertains to Discogs, it really comes down to that notes section, to understanding at the highest level what you're buying. So I'll show you some other examples if I go through here. Some of them have tons of notes. And again, these are all notes inputted by people just like you and I, because anybody can go into Discogs and add information on a release, or actually add a release itself. So if I come down here to the notes section, you'll see that this actually has all of the credits and where the songs were recorded, etc., etc. There was another one here. Let's look at this Jimi Hendrix live at Woodstock. If I scroll down to the notes on here, you'll see it's got a sticker announcing 30th anniversary commemorative 3 LP set, numbered limited edition. It's the other good thing is from the pictures, you can't always tell what that hype sticker says, and a lot of times people will put those notes into, or they will put those details into the notes, right? So let's click on this one more Johnny Cash release. This is a Third Man Records release. I bet there will be some good notes here. So here you go. Tells you where it was recorded, the catalog number, tells you what's going on with the 7-inch single that is included. Tracks are numbered sequentially. So again, this can all be useful information. It's something I scan really quickly, but it tells me what I'm buying. That's the most important thing here for tip number 1 is look at the notes section to learn what you're buying. If you don't see the notes section, that means no one's put anything in. So you will sometimes get to a release and that notes tab won't be there. It'll just have tracks, credits, and IDs, and the notes tab will be missing just because no one's entered though. So check the notes. That's the first tip. The second tip, and I'll stay here on this Johnny Cash one for this tip, are the actual album reviews, right? So you see the blue icon in the middle, and you've got you've got the little eye icon, which tells you 213 people are watching this, that they maybe want this album. Over 3,000 have it, and then click on that 8, and this will tell you, all right, someone should change this to clear vinyl because it wasn't white or pink. So someone have comments about the quality, about the packaging, about the pressing. These are all really valuable reviews from vinyl collectors just like you and I. So I'm going to click around on a few other of these. Let's go to this David Bowie here, see if there's any reviews on this one. So this one has 17 reviews. All right, so I can click through here and says, orange vinyl is really beautiful, sounds great, bright and clean. You can go through here and, you're not only going to get reviews on the pressing or the quality, you'll also get people just saying, hey, I love this record, it's David Bowie's best, or whatever it may be, right? So the reviews from other buyers are very important. This is no different than what you would do on Amazon if you're shopping for anything else in the world. Going to look at those reviews are very important, and Discogs provide those for this specific release. That's very important. It's not just the album as a whole. So if you go to for example, most of the time if you go to like an Amazon or a big box and you look at reviews on a new record, it's going to be reviews basically on the music itself and on the album release, not the specific pressing and the specific version. Those are really the types of reviews you're looking for to tell. And this is a good example right here. Great, quiet, flat pressing. Packaging not up to other Bowie reissues with no fan club insert, but sounds much better than my old copy. There you go. That tells me something. It tells me someone is enjoying this, especially in regards to the quiet, flat pressing. So tip number 2 is look at the other buyer reviews. Very important. All right. So let's say we want to now buy an album. I'm going to go to an example that I had looked up. I'm looking for a Soundgarden Super Unknown. Where was it here? I'm going to scroll through really quickly and find it. All right, here we go. So this is a 1994 copy of Soundgarden Super Unknown. Pretty rare record. If I'm interested in buying this record, first of all, I got to see if it's available. So for sale from $225, right? So this tells me, all right, here's my options if I want this specific version on this platform, right? I can scroll through here, and there's not a ton of options on this one. Sometimes there can be, 20 or 50 or 100 copies of this available. This is a pretty rare record, so there's not that many. But either way, I primarily buy from the United States because I'm in the United States. So shipping is going to be cheaper, shipping is going to be faster, and with those two things, there's a less likelihood of damage because it's going to get to me sooner. It's not going to have to travel as far, right? So I always sort from ships from the United States, at least initially, to see what's available in my country, right? So in this case, it whittled that list down of, I think, 8 or 10 to 3 or 4 copies, right? So you can see I've got a copy here that's VG Plus, and the sleeve is VG, and it's $225, and then you got another copy at $250, and then you got a near mint copy for $400. Let's say I'm going for it. I'm going to say, all right, what's this $400 copy all about? So the next tip is to look at the seller ratings. This seems obvious, and again, is very similar to what you will find on any other buy-sell marketplace, including, Amazons of the world. You need to research the seller. You looked at the ratings of the album and the quality of the album and the pressing itself based on other people who have bought it. Let's talk about the person who's selling this. So in this case, it's Sugar Records. I don't know who this is. Looks like another record shop of some sort. I'm going to look at their ratings and see that they have a 99.6% positive rating, and they've got over 4,000 ratings as far as the quantity is concerned. That tells me right away that, okay, this is a serious seller. They've been on Discogs for a while. They've sold over 4,000 items, which is a lot, and they've got a great rating. So I already feel good about this. But the other thing I will do, besides just looking at those ratings, and you can click through on the ratings if you want and read through them, you can go into seller rating, and here we go. So now I'm on their page, and you can go through here all day long and read response from other buyers in regards to their transaction with this seller. So again, 99.6% feedback. I would be feeling very confident if I was going to be purchasing this from this particular seller. I'm going to go back to this page though. The other important thing that I like to check right here when I'm on the item page and I'm thinking about adding this to the cart, if I'm going to buy a high-end item, especially, but even so, any item for the most part of any value, and I'm going to have it shipped to me, I always like to see what else that seller has available for two reasons. One, I might want to pick something up. We'll talk about that one second. But the first thing I want to see is what else do they have listed, especially if it's a collectible. So what I do is I go to all of their items and I sort it by newest listed and I go to highest price. Why am I doing that? Not just because I want to see what crazy records they have. I want to see if they have other valuable records. Because if I see one Soundgarden record for $400 and everything they have listed are very low quality records, low value records, that throws a little bit of a red flag for me. I'm looking for someone who knows how to grade high value collectible records, who knows how to package high value collectible records. And so if I don't see that they're selling a lot of these or even any of these, that's a little bit of a red flag for me. So again, I look at the seller's inventory, not so much to see if I want anything else, I'll talk about that one next, but more so just to see what their level of experience is. It's no different than walking into a record shop and seeing one high-priced item amongst a whole bunch of junk or a whole bunch of stuff that's not priced properly or not graded properly or not cleaned or organized properly. Gives you a little bit of a little bit of pause if you're going to drop a couple $100 or even $50 on a record for that matter, right? You want to just become familiar with that seller is basically what I'm saying. Now, as far as shopping around, while I'm having this record shipped, maybe they have something else I want and I can add it on or and save on shipping, right? So the way I do that is you just filter by my want list. If you keep up with your want list, then you can filter and go, okay, what else does this seller have that's on my want list? In this case, they've got a few other items and a lot of them are collectible. So again, that makes me feel good. Maybe I want to pick up another Soundgarden record that they have or a $500 copy of Incesticide by Nirvana. You get what I'm saying. You can look at what's filtered down. Of course, I could go, look at their entire inventory, but that's going to take me a lot longer. I'm looking to kind of take some shortcuts here. So again, that tip number 4 is look at the seller inventory and learn about that seller and hopefully get comfortable with the fact that they know what they're doing, right, on every level, right? So that's pro tip number 4. The last pro tip that I'm going to talk about is in regards to that want list, which I just talked about. The key to the want list is you can come over here to the app and you can scroll through your want list all day long. For me personally, it's pretty exhausting because I have hundreds of albums on my want list, different versions, things I've added years ago that maybe I don't even want anymore. It's pretty bloated in a lot of ways. I try to keep it clean, but it's hard. The pro tip here is to make sure you have your notifications set and your email set to receive the daily want list email. I will show you that. The reason why this is key is because you get this email once a day, like it or not, and it will tell you everything that's new to the Discogs marketplace based on your want list. So if an album has recently been added to your want list, if an album has recently been uploaded to Discogs as available for sale and it matches what's in your want list, it's going to be included in that email. So I can't tell you how many times I've gotten that email. For me, it usually comes around 6 or 7 o'clock at night. I know it when it comes in. A lot of times I'll just delete it because I don't feel like dealing with it right then. Most of the time I browse it pretty quick, and I have gotten a lot of great records that way because again, it's kind of like first one to the punch, right? If a lot of people have that record on their want list and they're not paying attention to that notification and someone just added it to the marketplace today or within the last hour even, and you get that email and it's notifying you that it's available, the first person to go in and grab that is going to get it. And if it's a collectible record, it's a sought after record that a lot of people are watching, you can bet that it's going to go pretty quick. And so I would definitely recommend as tip number 5, make sure your notifications for that daily want list email are set up properly. Make sure you're getting those emails and not going to your spam or junk folder, because that is a great way to keep an eye on your want list without having to go in manually and search and hunt through it if you've got a large want list like I do. Again, it kind of filters it down based on relevancy of what has been listed recently or what is a good deal. A lot of times you'll find something that says, you know, rare find or good price. They'll highlight those things in the want list to try and entice you to click through and buy them, right? And a lot of times it works. So those are my 5 tips. Check the notes. Make sure you look at the album reviews from other buyers. Or other collectors. Get familiar with the seller if you're looking at buying something by looking at the ratings and looking at their inventory. And then lastly, make sure you're subscribed and getting that want list. A little bit of a bonus tip, which kind of seems like a no-brainer and is not specific to Discogs, but after you've done all that and you're about to make your purchase, one of two things. Pause for just a minute. If it's not that rare, maybe don't buy it right then, but add it to your want list, because then you can watch it and see if the price goes down, see if someone pops up a copy in another week that's a better price or better condition, right? So that's kind of a bonus tip, is maybe just don't get so trigger happy unless it's something that's incredibly rare and there's only one copy available. You might want to, but in most cases, maybe play a waiting game. And then the other bonus tip is just shop around. Like, Discogs is a marketplace. You've also got all the other options. You've got eBay, and you've got local record stores. You've got artist sites that sell vinyl, you know, directly to fans. You've got big box retailers. You've got all these other options. So that's kind of what I try to do. If it's something that that isn't so rare, I'm afraid I'm going to miss out on it, but I know I probably want it eventually. I'll add it to the want list, then I'll shop around a little bit, and if I still don't find a better price, I'll come back to it and I'll pick it up if I trust that seller and the album reviews are good and the pressing reviews are good, right? So those are some tips specifically about buying on Discogs. I hope that helps. Really appreciate you watching. If you have any additional tips and you're a frequent buyer on Discogs, I would love to hear them. Always looking to learn how to improve how I acquire records personally. And as a seller on Discogs from NTX Vinyl, always looking to know how people are buying, right? So I would love to hear feedback and comments. I will pop some other videos up here specific to Discogs while we're on the topic. Definitely check those out on the channel. And as always, really appreciate the support. My name is G.I. Sanders. This has been Talking About Records.